"Sir, an unexpected ship has been detected," a voice rang out on the bridge. The captain turned to the officer, his expression calm but alert. "Whose ship is it?" he asked. The officer quickly consulted the data before responding. "It appears to be a human ship, sir." The captain's eyes narrowed slightly as he processed this information. "Send standard human acknowledgement message number 4, he ordered. The officer nodded. "Aye, Captain, sending standard human acknowledgement 4. A tense moment passed on the bridge, every crew member holding their breath as the message was transmitted. The silence was thick, the tension palpable. Then, finally, a small indicator light blinked on the communication panel. "Message received, sir. The human ship reports all is good and wishes us well." The entire bridge crew released the breath they did not realize they had been holding. The collective sigh of relief was almost audible as they watched the human ship drift through the vast, empty blackness of space. It was a mere 1,000,000 kilometers from their location, harvesting output from the solar furnace that lit the star system. The ship continued its journey before it finally winked out in a sparking glimmer of white. "Continue the survey mission and include the human ship in the report," the captain ordered. "Aye, Captain, we do," the officer confirmed, resuming his duties. Reagan, along with 17 others, had been watching the encounter silently, waiting for their transfer acceptance paperwork to be approved by the captain. The atmosphere on the bridge had been thick with unspoken questions, but no one dared to voice them. The captain looked them over, his gaze steady and authoritative. With a swift motion, he cleared the paperwork on the comp panel and dismissed them. Reagan navigated the interior of the ship, heading towards his new post. He was reporting as ready for the next shift, his mind still processing the events on the bridge. The engineering leader, to whom Reagan would soon be reporting, was coming off duty as Reagan approached. "Sir, Reagan of the Mattori cluster, 3rd generation of the name, reporting as an inbound transfer," Reagan announced formally. The older officer eyed Reagan over quite carefully before responding, "Very well. I shall begin your orientation at the start of the next shift. Do not be late." "I won't, sir." "Might I ask you a question?" Reagan ventured. "If it's related to your work shift, it will be covered tomorrow," the officer replied, his tone clipped and professional. "It's not, at least not directly," Reagan hesitated, then asked, "When we were on the bridge to have the captain approve our papers, there was an unexpected human ship." The older officer took a sharp intake of breath, but not quickly enough to avoid detection. His eyes narrowed slightly, as if weighing his words carefully. "I presume there was no incident." "Correct." "What's the question?" "Why, sir? Why are we so afraid of them?" Reagan asked, his curiosity getting the better of him. The officer's expression hardened, his voice taking on a stern edge. "Reagan of the Mattori cluster, 3rd of your name, you will do well to never ask such questions again. But since the only way to learn the first time is to ask, I shall forgive you this one time." "But why? Why can't we ask?" "At the academy, they just tell us the 7 standard messages, when to use each, and to never, ever board a human vessel." "Why?" The officer's gaze softened slightly as he considered Reagan's question. "Look, rookie, there are many in the fleet who think the humans are unkillable, shape-shifting demons, and they let their superstitions rule their rational minds. Fortunately for you, I am not one of these individuals, and so I will answer you. But that's why you don't talk about it. The superstitious lot think that even mentioning humans can summon them from the darkest reaches of space and provoke them to attack. Our history of incidents with them has never gone well for us. No one has ever returned from a human ship, not alive, not dead. Boarding a human ship is a death sentence. Moreover, every ship that has ever dared attack a human ship has in turn been boarded. Some say the humans are bulky monsters that stand 300 centimeters tall and cannot be stopped by any barrier set in their way. Others claim humans are only 175 to 200 centimeters tall and are easily stopped at first by basic doors. Some claim the humans are bipedal, and others claim they have a multitude of legs. Some claim that humans have only 2 arms, while others claim they have as many as 6. Reagan's brow furrowed in confusion. How are all the stories so different? The officer's voice lowered, taking on a more ominous tone. The humans destroy the records so we cannot review them to see the truth. Any ship that attacks them is not entirely destroyed. It is left crippled, floating in space with minimal power for life support, and left with the ability to call for aid. Only those who resist the human counterattack are harmed, and they are slaughtered with a violence unknown anywhere else in the universe. Reagan shivered at the thought. What does that even mean? It means, kid, that if you are ever on a ship stupid enough to attack a human vessel, you had best find a corner to hide in and not even remotely look like you're reaching for a weapon, the officer replied grimly. The humans can handle ungodly high temperatures. We think they must be from an inner world of their home system and have evolved to handle such temperatures as their norm. That, and they have no interest in any world that suits our biology. But because of this, when they board, the very heat from their suits bakes our atmosphere around us. I've heard of opposition dying from heat exhaustion just from the waves of heat emanating from the humans long before combat range is close enough to fight. Reagan's eyes widened in disbelief. That doesn't make sense. Why not just shoot them? Our weapons don't work on them, the officer explained. Their suits are designed for much hotter environments than we can withstand, so our handheld energy beams can't come close to phasing them in the slightest. It would take industrial beam cutters to harm them, and we don't just have those kicking around. Really? Reagan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. That's what I've heard, the officer confirmed. But the humans have beams that can cut us down without a thought. They have beams that slag our interior bulkheads, and that's before they even get into fighting range. Then they use axes and knives. They fight with a fury that is unmatched by any foe we have ever fought. They purge a ship of any resistance and then destroy the systems that could record anything about them before they leave. But always, they tell the survivors to pass along the message, just leave them alone. The officer's voice grew quieter, almost as if he were speaking to himself. So we leave them alone. We leave them alone. He paused, his expression distant, as if contemplating a future he wasn't sure would ever come. One day, perhaps, a human ship will be in need of assistance, and we will be able to provide it. One day, we might be able to bridge the divide created from our first handful of encounters, which had disastrous results at the hands of pirates who operated at the very edge of our known space. One day, we might get to explain to them that those first few ships were not members of our military and that the bad encounters since were all misunderstandings. One day, we might be able to stop fearing the humans.